In the ancient land of Israel, a gentle sun rose, casting a golden light across the landscape. But despite the brightness in the sky, a deep shadow of fear lingered in the hearts of its soldiers. Imagine two hills, facing each other across a wide, silent valley. On one hill, the army of Israel stood poised, yet frozen. On the other, the formidable army of the Philistines waited, confident and menacing. The valley between them was an empty stage, waiting for a battle that no one on Israel's side dared to start. Every single morning, a thunderous roar would shatter the silence of the dawn. "Israel, send me a man to fight." The voice was a force of nature, a rumbling earthquake that belonged to Goliath, the giant of Gath. He was a mountain of a man, taller than anyone the Israelites had ever laid eyes on. His helmet was forged from heavy iron, his spear was as thick as a weaver's beam, and his bronze armor gleamed, reflecting the sun's rays like a second, more terrifying sun. When he took a step, the very ground seemed to protest and tremble beneath his weight. Every soldier in Israel's camp was paralyzed by fear. For 40 long days, this became their reality. Goliath would emerge in the morning, and then again in the evening, a relentless tormentor. Each time, his taunts grew bolder. "You people have no warrior among you? Where is your God? Who will dare to fight me?" The soldiers would just look at each other, their faces pale, their spirits broken. Even their leader, King Saul, a tall and powerful man himself, was gripped by the same fear. No one moved, no one spoke up. The giant's voice was a poison that weakened their knees and drained their courage. Meanwhile, miles away from the tense standoff, in the quiet pastures of Bethlehem, a young shepherd boy named David was starting his day. He was the youngest of his brothers, not a soldier, but a keeper of sheep. While his older, stronger brothers were enlisted in King Saul's army, David's world was the open fields, the bleating of his flock, the sweet melodies from his harp, and the constant vigilance required to protect his sheep from predators like lions and bears. He was skilled and brave in his own world, a world far removed from war and giants. One morning, David's father, Jesse, called him over. "David," he said with a kind tone, "your brothers are on the front lines. I need you to take this grain and these loaves of bread to them, and take these 10 cheeses to their commander. See how they are doing and bring back some token from them." David, ever obedient, packed the provisions with a sense of purpose. He was excited, not just to help, but to see his brothers and catch a glimpse of the great army of Israel. He left the sheep with another keeper and hurried on his journey. When David finally arrived at the camp, the scene was not what he expected. Instead of a bustling, confident army, he found soldiers huddled in groups, whispering anxiously, their faces etched with fear. As he was talking to his brothers, a familiar tremor ran through the ground. The heavy, rhythmic footsteps echoed across the valley once more. Goliath had stepped out for his daily challenge. The giant's voice boomed, louder and more arrogant than ever before. All the soldiers of Israel, upon seeing him, fled in terror. David's eyes widened, but not with fear. He watched the towering figure, heard the blasphemous taunts against his people and his God, and something inside him ignited. It wasn't pride or youthful recklessness, it was a righteous anger. He couldn't comprehend how this one man could be allowed to defy the armies of the living God. He turned to the soldiers standing near him. "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? What will be done for the man who kills him and takes away this disgrace from Israel?" The soldiers, surprised by his audacity, looked at the young boy. "That's Goliath," one said, as if the name itself was a complete explanation for their terror. "The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's family exempt from taxes in Israel." But David wasn't focused on the reward. He just shook his head, his conviction unwavering. Why should we be afraid of a man when God is on our side? News of this fearless young shepherd, who spoke with such startling boldness, traveled through the camp like wildfire. It didn't take long for his words to reach the ears of King Saul. Intrigued and perhaps a little desperate, the king summoned David. When the shepherd boy stood before the monarch, Saul was taken aback. He saw not a warrior, but a youth, barely a man. "You can't go out against this Philistine to fight him," Saul said, his voice a mixture of pity and disbelief. "You are only a boy, and he has been a warrior from his youth." David met the king's gaze, not with arrogance, but with a calm, unshakable faith. "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep," David began. "When a lion or a bear came and took a lamb from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the lamb from its mouth. If it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God." He paused, his voice steady. "The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." King Saul listened, mesmerized. He didn't fully grasp the depth of David's faith, but he saw an undeniable sincerity and power in the young man's eyes. It was a flicker of hope in a sea of despair. After a moment of contemplation, Saul made a decision that would change the course of history. He looked at David and said, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Saul then tried to dress David in his own tunic, putting a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around, but he wasn't used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I'm not used to them." So he took them off. Instead, he took his staff in his hand and went down to the stream. There, he chose 5 smooth stones, placing them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag. With his sling in his hand, the young shepherd boy, armed not with steel, but with faith, stepped out of the camp and walked toward the valley to face the giant that an entire army was too afraid to fight. Why 5 stones? David didn't know exactly what would happen, but he knew the battle belonged to God. He was prepared, but his trust was not in the stones, it was in the Lord. When David stood up, the wind brushed against his face. He felt strong, he felt calm, he felt ready. David put the stones into his bag and held his sling tightly. Then he began walking toward the battlefield. Across the valley, Goliath noticed him and let out a loud laugh. It echoed across the hills like thunder. "Is this a joke?" Goliath shouted. "You send me a boy, a child? Do you think I am a dog that you come to me with sticks?" David kept walking, his eyes steady, his heart fearless. Goliath lifted his giant spear and roared, "Come here, boy, and I will crush you today." But David lifted his voice and answered boldly, "You come to me with a sword and a spear, but I come to you in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. Today, he will deliver you into my hands." David's words echoed across the valley. For the first time, the soldiers of Israel felt hope. They watched carefully, wondering what would happen next. David took his position on the battlefield. The giant took a step forward. The moment had come. A shepherd boy with a sling was about to face a warrior giant with armor and weapons. The battle of faith was about to begin. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to watch the part 2 of this amazing Bible story about David and Goliath.